Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely will not match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just be respectful in the comment section. Thank you. And as always, possible spoiler warning ahead. Hey guys, Darth Glork here, back with, I almost said part, here with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about Goblin Slayer. So this anime was very popular from what I understand. There was quite a, I don't want to say controversy because that word gets overused, but there was kind of a hype around Goblin Slayer. And I don't know, some people were saying it was great, a lot of people were saying it was brutal, and I mean they weren't wrong. It was great and it was brutal, but there was kind of a controversy going around about it because it was very brutal. But anyway, so this anime aired in the fall 2018 season, and it's another 2018 anime. It's honestly surprising how much of these I've been watching recently. But that's fine, of course. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, in my opinion, it is surprising that, it is very surprising that I am watching so many of these, 2018 anime. Anywho, so of course we will be talking about Goblin Slayer, so we will be opening up with the synopsis as per the usual, as it is just a really nice way to sum up everything. So, here we go. Goblins are known for their ferocity, cunning, and rapid reproduction, but their reputation as the lowliest of monsters causes their threat to be overlooked. Raiding rural civilizations to kidnap females of other species for breeding, these vile creatures are free to continue their onslaught as adventurers turn a blind eye in favor of more rewarding assignments with larger bounties. To commemorate her first day as a porcelain-ranked adventurer, the 15-year-old priestess joins a band of young, enthusiastic rookies to investigate a tribe of goblins responsible for the disappearance of several village women. Unprepared and inexperienced, the group soon faces its inevitable demise from an ambush while exploring a cave. With no one else left standing, the terrified priestess accepts her fate until the Goblin Slayer unexpectedly appears to not only rescue her with little effort, but destroy the entire goblin nest. As a holder of the prestigious silver rank, the Goblin Slayer allows her to accompany him as he assists the Adventurers Guild in all goblin-related matters. Together with the priestess, high elf, dwarf, and lizard man, the armored warrior will not rest until every single goblin in the frontier lands has been eradicated for good. So, there you have it. So this anime was good, honestly. It was really well put together. Now, first thing you should know right off the bat is this anime is brutal. It doesn't pull any punches, and from the opening episode, because I had heard it was brutal, that was part of the hype that everyone had been talking about. A lot of the hype that everyone had been talking about was how brutal it was. Well, then when I watched it, in the first episode, it fires right in. There is death, there is rape, there is craziness, okay? So, the first thing you need to know is if you're not into brutal anime, or if you are easily offended, or such things, I would recommend that you look elsewhere. Because this anime, now of course I don't mind anything, I don't mind brutal stuff, I prefer adult, mature anime anyway, and so for me it doesn't so much matter, but I was like, holy crap, like, because I had heard it was brutal, but I didn't expect it to be that brutal. Well, it was pretty intense, so if you're not about that, then I do recommend looking elsewhere. Now in similar anime, it definitely has a fantasy vibe, of course, because there's like swords and arrows and elves and such things. But I don't really know off the top of my list what would be similar. In shock value, it kind of reminded me of what's that other anime called? Is it? Some people pronounce it Lead. I call it Elfen Lied. In brutality, it kind of reminded me of that one, because that anime also has some brutal moments. But anywho. But I don't know as far as like genre is concerned. But anyway, so yeah, it's very, very brutal and aggressive. So its rating is definitely going to be R for sure. And so if you are not prepared for that, then I would encourage you to look elsewhere, as it is very violent and very intense and whatnot. So, genre is going to be action, adventure, fantasy, that type of deal. And yeah, and so that's, I mean, because like I said, it is obviously fantasy, and there is really good characters and whatnot. So going into our season length here, our season length is actually 12 episodes, which is no surprise because that's pretty much my favorite type of anime to watch. And just historically, I tend to prefer the 12 episodes. You can just watch it. It's easier to get through, and there is less commitment. And not always, but sometimes I find that longer anime, if it's like a 26 or like a 50, I find that there's lots of episodes that are kind of useless. That's not really, they don't really do anything important. They just goof off for a while. And sometimes that's okay, but if the anime isn't like a 10 out of 10 would love to death, then it can be almost more than you can take. If you're it's a 4 out of 5 and you're having to drag along through episodes which you don't like, it gets a little intense. So anyway, so it is 12 episodes, so that's no surprise. Now, so yeah, that is the season length. So going into our character section. Now, the characters were really cool. They were really well put together. Now, it is interesting because a lot of the characters don't actually have a real name. Is they don't have a a lot of them, they're just called, elf or dwarf or lizard man. So it's easy to pronounce, I guess. But anyway, so obviously your main character is going to be Goblin Slayer. Now what's interesting is I never caught her name. I'm not sure I ever caught her name in the anime, but the young priestess girl on my anime list, it's saying her name is Ona Shinken, I think, Shinkan. I don't know, but I never caught her name. Everybody was just calling her priestess or whatever, and so I actually didn't realize that was her name at all. And then there's a longer list of supporting characters, but those are the two pretty much main ones. Now there is the party of people that eventually Goblin Slayer teams up with that become his circle of friends. You have the elf, the dwarf, and the lizard man, who all three help him out. Now, very quickly, I think you guys will like them. After they were introduced, it did not take long at all before you were just so on board. And they were really, really fun. And Goblin Slayer is very, very monotone. He's very, very stoic. So if that kind of thing kind of annoys you, then I would advise you to, I want you to know beforehand so that it's not surprising to you later. But, yeah, the Goblin Slayer is very, very stoic. Now, at first, it makes him come across as heartless or not all there or like a robot. But after you, hear a little bit, you hear his backstory, you hear what he's been through, and then you, as you, listen to what all his friends say about him as they become his friends through no effort on him, through very little effort on his part, I should say. Then you really do get to like him, and you find out that he's not a robot. He's not heartless. He does exist. He has feelings, yeah, and so you do get to like him. Once you find out his backstory, you feel incredibly sorry for him, and then you're like, well, it's no wonder he acts that way. His backstory's so sad or whatever. And so really quickly, you get to that you get to see past just the stoicness, and everything else comes around. Now there is some other great characters, of course. There is, and I'm gonna crush her name. Ukitsuke, maybe is so she is a big staff member of the guild, the Adventurers Guild, front desk. So she hands out quests and stuff. She's a really fun character. You really do get to like her. There is Majo, I think is how you would pronounce her name. She's another supporting character, very, very fun. She's one of the adventurers in the guild, and she will pop in and out several times. There is her teammate, and I'm going to destroy his name. Yaritsukai, maybe? And he's like this. He's another adventurer. He is Majo's teammate, and he's interesting. And another supporting character that is in a few of the episodes is the Sword Maiden, and you guys will get to know her. She has a name. I'm not going to even attempt it. I will absolutely destroy that, worse than the other ones. But anyway, but your main characters are going to be that main party: the elf, the dwarf, the lizard man, and then the priestess, and then the Goblin Slayer are going to be the most important characters. There'll be a few other little supporting ones throughout, but those are the main ones that you should focus on. Now, as far as my favorite characters go, Majo, I think is her name. She is probably my favorite character, and it's funny because she is a supporting character, and so it's funny that her and the Sword Maiden are probably my two favorite characters. I like Majo because she has this way of speaking that's really slow. That's like it's very exaggerated, like she's speaking very slowly. And like that's how the subtitles are written out, and so that's how I very much pictured her saying, and that's what it sounds like. And so she's my favorite character because she's just so chill. Like no matter what's happening, she seems confident and just very like laid back, and I love that. So that's the reason she's my favorite character. The Sword Maiden I like because once you get to know her character, I understand, like I can see where she's coming from and stuff, and her backstory is also pretty sad. I also love the character type of like the blind character who is like really capable. And she is blind, and she wears this cloth over her eyes, and I think it's a really cool look. And then once you find out about her backstory and what she's like, then I like her even more. So if you're wondering why those two are my favorite characters. But anyway, so going past characters and of course past my favorites, the animation and music. So the music was good. I do remember thinking that a few times that the music was pretty good. It's nothing like too crazy. It's nothing to write home about. But it was pretty good. And the animation was really good. Now, it was really well put together, and it was very pretty to look at, which in a lot of ways kind of made the brutality more intense because, of course, it looks really good, so everything's very clear about what's happening, and you're like, oh my gosh, my eyes! And so it's like, it's really, really intense. Anyway, so it was really well put together. The story was really interesting. You really felt sorry for so many of those characters because so many people have been through something horrible or whatever. And I was really happy that a big point for me, a big really good sell is by the end, looking back, you could totally see the growth of the main character, Goblin Slayer. You can see his growth as a person that, you know, and it's interesting to me because he didn't say a lot of the time. Most of the time he stuck to a few word sentences at best. But then closer to the end, he starts speaking more, and then you find out about his story, and he obviously talks about that. So that's really cool. And so by the end, looking back, it's obvious his growth. It's obvious how much he improved as a person, how much he grew, and how much you understood about him. And so that was really cool because obviously he didn't do a lot of the speaking, that through his friends and through the people that backed him up. Through the people that backed him up, they would talk about him and how much they saw his growth, and you could totally see it too. And the priestess was the same way. Then in the beginning, she went through something horrific and almost died and worse. And it was crazy that going in, you could see her growth as well, and how cool that was. So then it's really cool that through his friends, you can see Goblin Slayer's growth. Looking back, you noticed it too, and I really liked that. I loved that he was deeper than what he looked like, and that was fantastic. I loved that a great deal. Anywho, and so yeah, it was well put together. I love the fact that he matured and grew up. I love the fact that the priestess did the same thing, and they all did. They all grew, and they all had this tight-knit circle of good stuff. At the very end of the anime, they did talk about that they said Goblin Slayer will return, and considering from what I understand, it did really well in its success, so it wouldn't surprise me even for a minute if another season came out, and so I will certainly stay tuned for that. And if you guys enjoyed it, or if you think you'll enjoy it, I encourage you to stay tuned for it as well. And whenever it does drop, I will watch it, and once it's out in its entirety, and I will get back to you guys. But anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me for a minute if another season came out, which would be fantastic because it was really well made, and I would love another season. But even if it doesn't, worst case scenario, if another season didn't drop, the fact is, it was self-contained, and the ending was great. It did have a good ending, and so especially it had just a really heartwarming ending, considering how brutal a lot of it had been. Especially on behalf of Goblin Slayer, you were so happy that he found friends and that he was more well-rounded and he was more well-liked, and how much it was a very heartwarming ending. But anyway. And so yeah, it was self-contained, so worst case scenario, even if nothing ever happened, it was still really good and really well put together, so that would not be the end of the world. Anywho, so now going into final rating and recommendation. So, of course, my final rating is going to be a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting, and it's definitely worth a buy. And, of course, I do stick by that. It was really good, and it's definitely worth a buy. My recommendation is, of course, watch it. You absolutely should watch it. If you're okay with adult, mature anime and violence and such things does not bother you, then I would say watch it. Go for it. Or if fantasy is your thing and you can handle the rest, go for it. It was really good. Now, of course, if you are not about those type of things, and if you are sensitive to blood or gore or rape or whatever, then I would encourage you to look elsewhere. This anime was very pretty, and it was very well made and very well put together. But if you are sensitive to such things, then I would say keep looking. Because it was very brutal right out the gate, right from the first episode. It fired right in, and it was very intense. So if you're not about that, then I would just make sure that you might want to look elsewhere. But anyway, that is going to call it for this positive anime review. This anime was great, and I liked it. So anyway, right after this, I will be recording part. What is that part? What are we on? Part 6 looks like. Part 6 of our Old Republic playthrough for the Sith Inquisitor, and then Part 3 for our Battlefield campaign playthrough. So I'll be recording both of those right after this. And so I don't know if I will get this up first. I might put up this video, and so I will record the other two after this one is all the way put up. So by the time you guys see this, the other two gameplay videos will be going out much later tonight, because it takes a long time to record and edit and stuff. So these will be going out this evening, pretty late this evening. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.
Hey guys, Darth Clark here.
Oh my gosh, though, what an upset. Darius is like, forget your type advantage, scrub.
And look at that stat line.
Ooh, sexy. This is your chance, my dude.
It's tear gas. Reznov, save me.
Everyone's rushing. Let's rush too.
You could say we're rushing to the objective. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna shoot your little toes. You think PETA's gonna come after me for just executing these monkeys for literally no reason at all?
Shoot at me, so oh my gosh! Be careful what you wish for, kids.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.